Guys, there are no gimmicks here. This is the Raaw Jibb LT V2.2. I've been riding this bike for the past month, and this bike is beautifully simple, it's beautifully burly. But as simple and as burly as it is, it's equally interesting. And I'm gonna get into all that here in a second. So other reviewers have claimed the Jibb is not very jibby, and I tend to agree, yet I completely disagree. And I know if you are at Raaw, you are rolling your eyes right now, but I feel that it doesn't do this bike justice. And I think I have a new name, another name for this bike that better describes it, that would open it up to a whole new class of interested buyers and interested riders. So we're gonna get into that here in a little bit. Now here's the thing, I gain nothing by selling this bike. I'm simply going to talk to you as if you're riding with me, as if you're my friend. I'm gonna share my insight and my experience with the Raaw Jibb LT V2.2. So let's put the helmet on and let's do it. So what drew my attention to this bike is that it is so simple. It's just a very simple suspension layout. There's no fancy high pivots, no idler pulleys. You know, not a ton of bearings, not a ton of pivots on the frame. It's just very simple. And it's very, very capable, or at least that's how they market it. And when I pulled the frame out of the box, it was very, very obvious at first sight that this frame is strong. It was built to be durable. It was built to outlast. So this bike is heavier than probably most trail bikes in the same travel class. LT does not stand for light. LT stands for long travel. So the LT Jibb is 141 in the rear, paired with 160 up front. Now I've ridden this bike in both the 29er setup as well as the mixed wheel setup. So a lot of the information that I share in this video applies to both. There are some benefits that me personally I like with a mullet, but I'm not going to really bring them up in this video because a lot of my experience has been the same on both rear wheel sizes. So here I'm going to present the tech specs on the screen for you. I'm not going to talk about each one specifically, but here's a quick overview of the specs. What's up, guys? So let's start off with climbing, because it may be assumed that, you know, a heavier bike would climb poorly, but in my general experience, it has not been the case with this bike. This bike climbs surprisingly well. I'm gonna say exceptionally well. It tractors up climb and it tractors through tech. It's very well balanced. Even with my 60mm rise handlebars, I didn't feel like the front end was coming up on me. Though when I wanted to pull the front end up to kind of get on and up and over, it would come up easily and in control. And that's kind of where the bike comes alive with climbing, when you're more dynamic, when you're pulling and pushing through the climbing tech. This bike had actually allowed me to climb through sections and various trail systems that I ride that would have been a slog on my enduro bike, right? I was able to climb through some techie stuff that I just couldn't on my enduro bike. And the beauty in that is I'm using way less energy in these climbs, so I have more energy on the downhill. Now you would say, well, obviously, Josh, a trail bike's going to climb better, but there's a give and a take because most trail bikes don't descend as well as an enduro bike, and that's kind of where this bike gets interesting. So as we make our way across the ridge here, let's talk about the name Jibb, and point number one in my case of why I think it's misnamed and why I think it's hurting it, the Jibb. So jibbing is kind of the idea of hopping and bouncing around a trail and being real playful on the bike and being creative on the trail. So jibbing is an actual skill that some people have and some people don't. Some people are good at jibbing and some people aren't. So jibbing is really, I would say 90%, maybe even 95% your skill versus your bike. Hey guys, you're good. Just me coming through. Thanks. Soupy out today, huh? So the problem is, somebody that can't jib well would want to jib, and they'll buy a bike that says jib, and they're going to realize that jibbing ain't easy. It's not going to come easy. But then the other issue is there are people that don't want a jibby bike because it has a negative connotation for being a strong downhill contender. So they're gonna overlook the jib because they don't feel that it would be capable for technical descents. So buying this bike is not gonna open up some sort of jibbing superpower that didn't previously exist. So somebody like myself who likes to jib, where am I? I got off trail there. Somebody like myself who likes to jib, I'm marginally good at it, but I like to bump jump and find little rock gaps and hop around the trail. The fastest line is never the funnest line for me. How does this bike perform? So when you first get on it, it feels good, it feels the part, it feels jibby. You know, it moves easy. You can lean it quickly. It'll pump fast and it pumps out of its turns fast. It feels the part. The geometry is great, it's fast, it's responsive, it's controlled and it's consistent. But the first thing that I noticed was that when I went to bump jump, okay, which I bump jump and bunny hop everything, there was a lack of a feeling that I was used to on my enduro bike that would classify it as a jibby feeling bike, I would say. And that is a lack of a responsive feel out of the rear end. When I hopped on this bike and I was hitting bumps and hopping jumps and stuff, there wasn't that strong sensation of a pop that snapped out of the rear end. I don't want to say it feels dead because it doesn't feel dead. It might feel a little bit heavy. And that goes for both the 27.5 on the rear as well as the 29er. So as you hop and pop through stuff, you don't get that snappy, responsive feel out of the rear end, that point of where the rear end has liftoff, where it pushes from the ground to the bump. These rocks are incredibly slippery right here. And because of that, I was like, man, this bike really is not jibby. It doesn't feel jibby. And certainly for somebody that is just learning to, bunny hop and be active on the trail, it might not give a response thereafter. I don't know about where you guys ride, but here in the Northeast, when these rocks are wet and the wood is wet, it becomes instant ice cube. It's like you hopped up on an ice cube, and without warning, without feel, or without notification, your bike can sweep out from under you. Front end can be gone, and then you're plummeting face first into rocks that are still as hard as they were when they were dry. So what was it? Is it because of the weight? It's because of the geometry? And I really started to look at it and really try to play with the rebound on my shot, because I felt like I had no rebound on my shot. Woo, this line right there. So I messed with the rebound. I turned it up to 11. And it still did not give me the feel or the responsiveness that I was used to. Woo-hoo-hoo. This is loose. So I started to be real analytical and investigate that feeling. And I looked at video and I realized that everything I was pulling for on my super snappy enduro bike, I wasn't having any more trouble on this. I was certainly clearing all my gaps. And in the video, it didn't look like my boosting was lower or like I wasn't getting the height that I used to get. And I realized that this bike still pops. It still jibs off the bumps and has that super playful nature off bumps. It just doesn't make a big fuss about it. It's not super showboaty. It's not gonna scream bump jump every bump that you see, but it's going to do it, and it's not gonna like brag about it. So once I got used to the fact that I'm not necessarily gonna feel like I'm jibbing or popping as well, that it's just in me, it's a sensation in me that it's still all going on. And it's certainly, that was icy back there. So as I got used to the fact that this bike doesn't brag about its poppy nature, its jibby nature, it just kind of does it with a little fanfare. It's not an issue. And I think that a lot of reviewers who claim that it's not jibby just haven't kind of looked at the fact that it is jibby. It just doesn't, you know, announce it loudly. Now, in terms of single track handling and, you know, enduro descending handling, this bike is very snappy. When you lean it, it goes. It is incredibly responsive. It is super duper stable as well, and very well composed. Again, it goes through what it needs to go through, and it will not give you a ton of feedback and make you feel like you are actively working to make it work. It just does what you want it to do. Except for down trees. It's so incredibly composed and snappy feeling that it 100% earns its jib name on single track. You lean it, it goes, it holds an edge. It slows down quickly when you are on the brakes, and it'll get back up to speed as quickly when you're on the pedals or you're using your body mass to pump and your momentum to gain speed. This bike is not going to let you down in terms of the input that you put in the bike. You're not going to lose a lot of that energy on the trail. This bike is going to give it back to you, and it's going to do it in a very controlled, confident manner. Kicker. In all the tech and enduro sections that I ride, and you know, the drops that are probably above this bike's pay grade, I don't notice that it's only a 141 in the rear. To be honest with you, it doesn't feel any different than my previous enduro bike, which was 160 millimeters of travel in the rear. If there was a blind test and I wasn't actively pumping into the bike, I don't know that I could tell the difference when it comes to sucking up stuff, right? And hard landings. I don't know how they do it. There's some sort of wizardry going on here. But it is pretty spectacular that a 141 rear travel bike can feel like a longer travel enduro bike. And not only does it handle that enduro type of gnar incredibly well, when it gets grounded again, there's no bob or time to settle the chassis. It hits the ground and it is instantly responsive and ready to get back into the gnar. It is so incredibly stable that it is just blowing my mind. I know it sounds like I might work for Raaw. I know it sounds like I had skin in the game, but I don't. And again, with the name Jib, you wouldn't expect it. You would expect it to be rowdy when it gets back to the ground and just, you know, want to bounce around and be aggressive like a bucking bronco. So even with 20 millimeters of less travel than my previous enduro bike, in a lot of ways, it's far more composed. Just kind of popping and weaving, and it's doing everything that I want it to do. And I have no doubt that if I turn up the speed, that it's only going to do it better. Because my next point on this bike is, I was amazed at how it just wants to go fast. It's more stable, the harder you push it, the faster you ride it. It comes to life. Now this isn't necessarily tech right here, but I was surprised at the tech that I rode, how the faster I rode it, it just wanted to go faster and ride better the faster that I rode. And as a result of that, I found myself hanging off the back of the bike a little bit. It's just fast. It's quick in and out of turns. And I think a lot of that has to do with this suspension layout and its little bit added weight. Once I realized that, I started riding with a more forward position, which I tend to always do, you know, knees over toes, chin over stem. I always preach that. But when I really got aggressive with that and stayed in that position, again, this bike just changed to a different gear. It went to a whole new level. It became more capable. It became faster. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll put a longer stem on it. So right now I'm running just a 35 millimeter stem. I love 35 millimeter stems. I've been riding them for a very, very long time, no matter what the geo of the bike is. I put the 45 on and I absolutely hated it. Just that 10 millimeter change was less about the bike, but more about the stem experience. While it does bring you a little bit further forward, I felt like everything was just delayed a little bit, and the steering was delayed. When you lean the bike over, it's just a little bit delayed. There's a little bit more of like angles at play when you lean the bike and turn the bars a little bit. I did not enjoy that. So went back to my 35 millimeter stem and just got in the habit of consciously staying forward when I knew the bike was going to try to throw me in the back seat. And it's come alive. It's a whole new experience. Whew, that was so slippery. Everything is pulling me down the fall line. Any noise that you might be hearing on the camera is either stones coming off and hitting this kind of cheap fender or the saddle rattling. Oh wow, a day where I rode icy rocks and icy routes successfully without making bad decisions and leaving with blood on my skin or damage on the bike. That's usually not the case. I made good decisions today. I'm proud of that. In summary, let's talk about the bike, and I'm going to give you the better name for it. So this bike will come to you in a box that says Jibb on it. It's going to tell you that it's Jibby. You're going to get it out of the box, and it's not going to feel Jibby. But it's not because it's not Jibby. It's because it's modest about its Jibby nature. So if this were a dog in the dog park, this might not look like the fastest dog or, you know, the strongest dog or a dog that could outlast the other dogs. But I guarantee you, given the opportunity, this dog will go as fast as any dog in the dog park. This dog will outlast any dog in the dog park. And this dog will never back down. But the difference is this dog's not going to turn its butt to every dog coming in requesting its ass to be sniffed. So if somebody from Raaw is watching this, or somebody knows somebody at Raaw that can send them this, I have a better name for this bike, and that is the Raaw. The Raaw Terror. Why? Because this bike will absolutely terrorize any trail that you push it on. It will terrorize any bike you put it up against. It will terrorize any feature that you put it up against. It's kind of the opposite of a Scooby-Doo villain, right? So you take the mask off a Scooby-Doo villain and it's just a guy, right? You take the mask off this bike by riding it hard, by pushing this bike hard, and it looks just like a normal bike, but once you get that mask off, it's a terror. The monster's underneath and it is ready to destroy whatever you push it through.